I hope you're doing well today. I'm Heather Rainbow. If you haven't been here before, welcome back, whatever it may be. This is not the video I had planned, but I do feel it's an important one to make, and I'm feeling inspired today to make it, to sit down and talk about this. So we're gonna go ahead and do it. I hope this interests you. I hope you find it kind of enlightening about my experience, and let's get into it. I get asked all the time why I hate MLM so much, and this is often coming from people who are in complete support, or sometimes from people who are not in support of what I do. They're like, why the heck do you hate MLM so much? But a lot of people are just curious, what got me into doing this, what made me so passionate about it. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Just a little, disclaimer. If something I say in this video upsets you or perhaps doesn't resonate with you, then maybe it wasn't for you to hear. Maybe it wasn't supposed to resonate with you, if that makes sense. Like, I'm making this for someone who can relate and who maybe these thoughts will resonate with. And if that's not you, that's okay. I'm just letting you know that you might disagree with some points, or you might find me to be completely wrong, and that's okay. But it does resonate with someone. That's what I'm hoping. So I grew up in a small town. I was actually homeschooled for a large portion of my life. I grew up in a bit of a conservative evangelical Christian church environment. My church was non-denominational, but basically evangelical Christian is how I would describe it. Small town, homeschooled. You're probably getting a picture here. I don't talk about myself, like my personal life, too much, so this might be a little uncomfortable for me. But I'm gonna try and do my best and just keep it concise. I know I hate when people just go on and on, so I'm bad at this. So being in that environment, a lot of my friends parents, mainly friends' parents, were in multi-level marketing companies. My mom had like a Pampered Chef party. She wasn't in Pampered Chef, but she'd have a party. I had a friend that had a LuLaRoe party, even though she was not in LuLaRoe. But I think she had that party when we were under 18. I mean, her mom must have like signed up for the party for her. I'm not quite sure. But thinking back, I think it was a little unethical and kind of predatory to be having people be like the hosts of these parties when I'm pretty sure we were not 18 yet. I think we were both minors. There was always a new MLM coming through that some people saw through and some people didn't. I had a friend whose mom sold Mary Kay. Obviously someone sold Pampered Chef, a couple sold LuLaRoe. Now, in like the social media age, I have more friends like my age in things like Arbonne and Monat. Those are the ones that I really, really strongly dislike. Those are probably my most hated MLMs, are companies like Arbonne and Monat, however you want to say it. Please don't correct me, because I've been corrected on the pronunciation about 100 million times and everyone says it differently, okay? Just get off my case about that. But they were definitely rampant in my community. That's the point I'm trying to get at, is they were rampant. Everyone knew about them. They were extremely present in church environments with a lot of stay-at-home moms, with a lot of new moms, with a lot of husbands at work and moms at home, that kind of thing. MLMs really prey into that environment. Now, to answer everyone's question, no, I never joined an MLM. My mom was never in one or anything like that, but I was quite close to them. I did see a lot of people. I mean, there was a girl at my youth group whose mom like brought the essential oils. I think it was Young Living or maybe doTERRA. I'm honestly not quite sure. To youth group, she had like her big package of oils at youth group. It was, the essential oils were a really big one. So what I'm trying to get at is these things permeated our group. I mean, MLMs were everywhere. Just even thinking back from a childhood perspective, I can remember so many MLMs, so many MLM parties. And then getting older, I started to see, my own friends join MLMs, and I started to see girls who would join an MLM, then they'd start subtweeting all their friends. They'd say, no one's supporting me. It takes $0 to like your friend's post supporting their small business, kind of subtweeting and all stuff like that, saying you don't support me, blah, blah, blah. I had one friend, I don't want to get too much into this because it's not really my story to tell, but we have a mutual friend who like joined Arbonne, and she got this other girl to do something with Arbonne, and she sent her a lot of really nasty messages. It was a really bad situation. I think the girl in Arbonne was just getting so desperate to make money that she would say anything at that point, which is really common. All that to say, they were everywhere. I never joined one. And I feel like in that sense, I do have a bit of a unique perspective, because so many people who fight against MLMs were in MLMs. And I feel like that is probably the most important work, is to speak out about something that you were involved in, speak out about something that hurt you. But I also feel like those people are often targeted by MLMers because they say, well, you just had a really bad experience, you just lost money, you just did it wrong, etc., etc. And that can be really a site for attack for the MLM individuals. So coming from someone who never was super involved in the business model, I think it can be helpful, maybe a helpful perspective. I could be wrong about that. I do think that probably the people who were in MLMs are doing the most important work by speaking out about something that truly hurt them deeply. But I also think there's a time and place for people who can't be targeted by that particular argument, saying, you just did it wrong, blah, 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 blah. I can completely circumvent that argument because I did not have that experience whatsoever. But I also am trapped in other arguments where they say, well, you've never joined, so you wouldn't know. Well, that's false, and I feel that I do know. They have a point. I never joined, and lots of other people have, and you maybe should go watch their content if that's, a perspective that you want. I hope that made sense. What I'm trying to say is, I have a little loophole in that particular argument that they use, but I also have blockades and other arguments they use, so everyone has a different perspective. I never joined one. But I think what I really want to get into is why MLMs sit so badly with me. And there's a lot of reasons for this. Obviously, I could go on and on about the John Taylor PhD paper that's linked in my link tree that I reference all the time. I think that is an incredibly enlightening document. You can look at the income disclosure statements. MLMs depend on an endless stream of new recruits to make money. There's a lot to be said there. But in my kind of reflection and in my thoughts and trying to figure out what really bothers me so much about MLMs, I think it really is some of the cult-like control tactics, some of the information control. One thing that sits really badly with me is once you get in, how hard it is to get out, and how everyone in your life turns into a target for the MLM. Everyone is a recruit. Everyone is someone that you need to convert to the MLM, etc. Now, growing up, this is where I might upset some people. And again, if this doesn't resonate with you, that's totally okay. This was just my experience. I think growing up kind of in a church environment, I felt like everyone was almost a recruit for the church. Evangelical Christianity is so just that. It's evangelical. Everyone is a mission. You're on a mission. You're on a mission to convert people. And there are some parallels there. Whether you like it or not, there are some parallels there. I think there's also something to be said for how hard it is to get out. I kind of left the church. I could make a whole video about my experience leaving the church and what it's been like and what, the aftermath of that has been like. I could go on and on about that. That's kind of a whole other video. But once you start getting close with people outside of that environment, once you start wanting to reach beyond the group that you're in, you get a lot of pushback. I started dating someone that was outside of that group, and that was very frowned upon. I started making other close friends. That felt very frowned upon to me. It was incredibly hard to leave again because, and this is another key point, because all of your close friends are now in that group. They were in the group. And because they kind of prevent you from making other close friends, if you want to leave that group, you have to leave all those friends. And I think that is where MLMs kind of coincide. In my opinion, you make friends in MLMs, you make your upline to your friend, all your fellow recruits are your friends. But if you leave, that was all so fake. It only lasts if you are fully committed to the MLM. I think that is what is so heartbreaking, so predatory, so sad, is losing those friendships that you thought were real, but as soon as you weren't interested in the same thing, they just saw you as a recruit. They just see you as a mission. There have to be parallels there between the MLMs and what I went through trying to leave church and losing. Essentially, I lost all my friends. I'm just being honest here. I definitely, in the spirit of full transparency, I didn't do everything right. I was not the kindest person when I was leaving. I didn't even really try. I kind of just abandoned everything. So, I don't want to come across as oh my God, I'm some martyr, everyone just left me. That isn't the full story of what happened whatsoever. But I do think there's something to be said for some parallels there between churches and church culture, evangelical Christianity, and MLMs. And I think that's one of the reasons why they sit so badly with me is that whole experience that I went through and kind of relating to how difficult it is to leave friends behind. Whether I admitted that at the time or not, of course, I didn't want to admit that it was really hard for me. That might not resonate with you. Maybe you are in the church or that kind of church. That's wonderful. I truly have nothing left against that. It's just my experience was overall very negative, and that's fair. That's fair for me to say, and fair for me to think, and fair for me to feel. Whether you feel that way too, it's totally fine. Like, I completely respect you if you are in that, and my intention is definitely not to like drag Christians or anything like that. It was just my experience, and I think really reflecting on it, that has to be one of the reasons why multi-level marketing companies sit so badly with me. Those control tactics, those keep them in tactics, those, there's a lot to be said there. I've never really spoken about that too much online. I'm a little nervous about it because I know people get so passionate about these things, but ultimately we have to stay true to ourselves. We have to share our own experiences, or what are we even doing here? So there you go. This kind of brings me to another little introductory point I want to make, and that is the purpose of all I'm doing here, that my intention, my desire for all of this. And there's kind of two sides to that coin. Number one, I want to help people. I want to help people who were in MLMs, who are in MLMs. I've had lots of people message me and tell me, thank you, you helped me get out of my MLM. I'm so inspired by that. That helps me make more content. It fulfills me. It makes me want to keep doing this. And that's amazing that I can help someone by being an online presence. It's something I never would have thought would happen. Obviously, like, I probably sound like I'm acting like I'm a big deal. This is mainly like about TikTok. My YouTube channel is like just starting, so that's mainly in reference to TikTok. And also in that, help the people who were indifferent to say, oh, I never thought of it that way. I never thought it was like this. I never realized it was like this. I never thought of it in that light. That kind of thing. And I feel like that is also helpful because later on when they become a target for an MLM, they know what it is. Whether they want to join or not, at least they have some knowledge of what it is and what it's about. But that being said, there's also kind of another purpose that kind of upsets some people because they'll say that I'm being mean or I'm not being very kind and all that. And my intention is never to be mean. However, those of us who have lost like friends or family members or see other people lose friends, MLMs, we kind of have this rage against them. Okay, we just do. We hate them. We hate seeing it. We hate seeing the predatory messages. We hate getting cold messaged. It kind of creates this rage, and maybe you can relate to this. And having like an online community, this is probably what got me so much into anti-MLM content, at least consuming it, is like satisfying that rage. Like, someone out there feels how I do about these companies. Someone out there sees it too. Someone out there lost someone to it as well. Someone out there lost themselves to it. Someone out there has gone through this. Someone out there is so angry about this. I think that can be so helpful. So I think there's a fine line to walk between I want to help people, but I also want to help the community of people who just hate these companies, and we need somewhere to let that out. So I hope that gives you a little bit more enlightenment, a little more insight into how I feel about all this, my intentions. I've never really done like an introductory video or anything like that, so I get questions like this all the time. So now I can just point people here and say, this is my story, this is why I hate MLMs, these are my motives, this is what I'm trying to do. They were so rampant throughout my like homeschool group. Oh my god, I can make a whole other video about just being homeschooled, let me tell you. And I definitely think they, in a sense, can ravage communities, okay? They can ravage communities. That's just my perspective. Now, I want to wrap this up by saying a couple things that I think, whether you support MLMs or not, we should at least agree on. We should agree that certain people in MLMs do it incredibly badly and incredibly manipulatively and incredibly harmfully. Whether you think the overall business model is harmful or unethical or not, I do. But I think we can agree that there are a large amount of people in multi-level marketing companies that do it in an incredibly unethical way. That I think at least we can agree on. Another thing that I hope we can agree on is the people at the top of these companies have massive downlines. They recruited people. The people at the tippy top making 6 figures a year, they're millionaires, they have a big downline. Can we at least just agree that they recruited a lot of people? Whether you want to say they just have more responsibility or they just grew their team or whatever, what have you, they recruited a lot of people, point blank. I can't think of a defense against that. I genuinely can't. Also, there's something to be said for the people at the top being seen as traditionally beautiful in society's eyes. You know, lots of Instagram followers, that kind of thing. You feel special when that beautiful person with all those followers targets you and wants you to join the MLM. The people at the top often are traditionally beautiful. I think perhaps we can agree on that, perhaps we can't, but those are just a couple things that might lay the groundwork for a discussion, for an argument, etc. I hope this wasn't too disjointed. I hope you got a little bit more of a feel for who I am and what I'm trying to do here, my experience, my reasoning. Thank you all genuinely so much for being here. Honestly, the last thing I ever thought I would do is make YouTube videos, but here we are with my little baby community. Check out my TikTok. You're probably here from TikTok, but if you're not, check it out. My Instagram is at heather.elisa.ramo. Follow me there for a little bit more kind of insight into my actual life. I'm a college student. I'm a woman in STEM. I am involved in a lot of other things besides just multi-level marketing companies. Thank you all so much for staying till the end. I hope you have a great day.